All right, we're going to start with talking about the physical features on your HP E-Series multifunction device. So we do have the main screen, which is adjustable. As far as any of the other areas, we have toner. The toner cartridges are here. There are some slight differences between models, but here we do have a toner cartridge that you can just pull that cartridge out. You'll take that old one, take it out, put the new one in, and just pop it into place. We do also have a waste container that you can take out, put a new one in there as well. As far as some of the other areas in it, on the side, there is a area in case there are any misfeeds. Inside, if you see anything that's green, that's a possible jam area as well. So there's a couple of doors here. There's a little area under here that will open up. And we do also, if you do have a finisher on it, you will have an area in here where you can change the staples as well. And with that finisher, there's a door that will open on the top. As far as the originals, if there are any misfeeds there, there's a little handle on the top that you can open up and get to the areas there, as well as underneath. There's a little area here and little knobs. So inside, if you see anything green, you can use green there. As far as the main screen too, because we have opened up all the doors, it's bringing up a few messages here letting us know that. But as far as the main screen, when we come into the main area, this will be your main option. This particular one does have a fax. You may not have that on your model, but the main screen is here and you can swipe over. So there are some other menus there as well. We'll review some of those through some of the training here as we go. Right, this is the HP E-Series main menu. So we have the copy, scanning, printing, and yours may or may not have the fax option on it. That is an option for the machine. As you come from the main area, if we choose the copy option, it will bring you in to do the copying. Everything from the originals assumes face up into your feeder, and from there, we start from the main screen and it brings up just the most common things you're going to do. For example, 1 to 1-sided or maybe 1 to 2-sided. So is the original single or double-sided? Do you want the copy single or double-sided? And when you choose done, it will bring it back to the side and show you the option there. Do you want to do black or color? So depending on what your default is, you may choose color or automatically detect color. At any point, you can choose the number of copies, so how many do you want to make, and then you could choose the green go for copy, and the most common settings right now are just right here, and it would get started. If you do want to do any additional options, there's a button in the corner called Options, and that will bring you to a list of features, and this is swiping, so you can swipe up and down to get to the different features. And again, the 1 to 2-sided and the color in black is still there. The other options are going to be here. This machine does have a finisher, so there is a stapling option. So currently it says stapling none, and you get to choose what corner or where you want the staple to be. And so it will bring us in and show you the option on the side. There are multiple features that you can do, such as watermarks, a bunch of different things. What size is the original? What paper tray do you want to choose from? And we can do some other multiple features as well, erasing around the edges. There's even a thing called blank page suppression where you can remove the blanks, and so you can scroll through and find those options. So once you turn the options on, if you're ready, you can hit copy. Otherwise, if you wanted to get back to the main screen, you can choose the hide options and it will bring you back here. But you can start copying from either location. Now, if this is a setting that you do all the time, there is an option called a quick set. So if I do this feature all the time, I could then choose to save it. And when I do that, I want to save it as a quick set. You can name it. When you touch those, the keyboard will appear. So I could say two-sided staple, whatever I want to call it. And then once I do have that loaded, I would save it. And then the next time I came here, I could just load it from the load screen and all my quick sets would be right there. So you can choose those options. Also, once I hit start or copy, it's going to hold the settings in memory for a minute. If you ever do want to clear those out, if you get back to the home screen, there's a little home on the side, there is a reset, and you can choose the reset option that will clear the settings out and let you start all over. Otherwise, the machine will clear it out within a minute. So now it brought me back to one-sided black, no stapling or any options there. And home will always bring you back to that main screen area there as well. Go ahead. Now we can do scanning from your multifunction device. When I choose the scan option, some of this can be customized. I'm leaving up all the options here. You can scan to email, you can scan to folders, you can scan to the hard drive of this machine. There are a number of different options. I'm going to start with just an example of how to do scan to email. So I'm going to choose scan to email. And from there, the first thing you need to do is choose who it's going to go to. You can either touch in the white area and a keyboard will appear, or the little icon for a person is where you can go in and choose from the address book here. And we can program these in ahead of time. There's a bunch of different options. We can review that as well. But once the names are programmed in, I can just choose a name and add them to it. You can put more than one person, so if I choose more and keep adding them, it will go to there. So right now this is who I'm sending the email that's coming to myself. You can CC or BC. And really at that point you can hit send. It will send it out with the current options. But a couple of the things here. So on the main screen, what's the subject? You can go ahead and enter a subject if you want. You can even name the file. So right now it's got a little option there. We could type in on there and name this document. So when I receive it, I do know what's the name of the file, and you can also choose a message. From there, any other options is, again, choosing the options in the lower left corner. With scanning, one of the more common things that people look at is the file type. So we have file type and resolution. Mine currently is defaulted to a PDF at 200 dots per inch. If I choose that, I can change the options. So for example, with some of the file types, I can do a JPEG to do like clip art pictures or things like that, TIFF, or PDF. So my default is a PDF. You can also change the quality or the resolution up to 600 dots per inch. So if you're doing photos or things that need a little bit better quality, you can do that. And it automatically brings up a few other options for scanning. Also, is the original single or double side? Are you scanning in color or black? The options in here to do the blank page suppression, that's one I use quite a bit. So let's say I'm two-siding it. I could come into the blank page suppression and turn that on, and now it would remove blanks from my document as I do the scan. So you do have a couple other options in there, again, erasing in around the edges and some of the things you can do there. And at any point when you're ready, you'll just choose send, and it will send that email off. Or once again, you could go back to the main screen by hiding the options, and there are options to save this as a preset or a favorite. So you could save it, name it, and then the next time you come up, all you have to do is choose load, pick your name, and you'd have the option saved for a frequently used setting. Also, one thing I do like to mention, from the machine always has its own email address, so the from address is from the machine. I always recommend the person you should send to is yourself. Forward it to whoever else might need it if needed. At that point, we can hit send, and it will send that document out, and you're ready to go. Go ahead. Also from the main screen, or from the home menu, there is an icon called printing. What this is a location that you can store documents when you print. So there it says print from job storage. There is an option when you're printing to tell it to hold it. You could walk up to the print from job storage and retrieve the document, and then print it from there for some confidential printing if needed. You can also print from a USB. There is a USB drive on the side of the machine. You could plug the USB in, come here, and you'd be able to open up the documents and print from documents. There are specific file types that you can choose depending on the configuration for that. Also, there is a back arrow, so this brings me back to print, or you can always go back to the home screen as well if you're choosing any of those options. So from this main screen, I do want to show a few other icons here. For example, there's a little button here that says I for information. It will go up and tell you a little bit about the machine, what language is it at. One of the things that some people like to do is they do like to come in. There's a setting there called the Ethernet. That's where your IP address is. We are going to be shortly going in and doing a web interface, and you would need to know the IP address of your machine so you can find it there. From that main screen. But otherwise, from that main screen, if you swipe to the left, we do have a few other options. So a few things I do want to mention. First of all, quick sets. Anytime you make favorites, you can find them from here or from the screen you're on. So these are quick sets to copying or scanning or whatever it is that you've made. And so you can quickly get to a setting. So if I choose that, this one brought me right into the copy screen with those settings that are on and saved for that setting. other kind of things that you can do from there. So besides the quick sets, trays. I do want to mention the paper trays. There are multiple trays on the machine, and one of the things with an HP printer is the side tray, or the thing that sits out the side, the bypass tray, is always considered tray 1. So if you put paper in there, it will pull from there first, and then it's going to look in the other trays. But here's where we can do some of the options for that as well. You can set trays, you can tell them what size they are, what kind of paper is in them. So if you do want to put any specialty paper in, you sure can do that by going to the paper tray and telling it what it is. By default, we have this one set to tray 1, any size, any type. It means when you put it in, it really doesn't matter what it is. The machine will just accept it either way. That's good for, troubleshooting some issues, but if you do have any specific types of paper, it's good to let the machine know what kind of paper it is. It does help it process it better. But again, from that home screen, you just swipe over one and get to the trays option, and you can look at it there. There are options, some reporting you can do just to know that you can get into these. You can get your usage pages out of here. So that's going to be for your meters. So if we're going to go into some of these pages, you're going to try to find the usage page, and that's the one that's going to be there. And as you're choosing some of these options, you can either choose the monitor, which means it's just going to show it to you on screen, or if you choose the print icon, it will print that out for you. So you can do it either way, look at it or print it out to get to some of the reporting options that are in there from that screen. There is one more thing, settings. So just to know the settings are there, you can go in and change things like turning trays off or some of that. And there is also a job log, so what's going on, what's happened, you can check that there. Also, from the home menu or any screen when you're there, along the top, right in this gray area, when jobs are running, you'll be able to select them and cancel them right from there. So it will have an option right on the screen while any jobs are running if you need to do that. Otherwise, always can come back home, and if you're not sure, you can hit reset, and it's just going to start you all over from that main screen. Now we're going to go from the computer side of things. We're going to do some printing. So I've opened up a document and just chose File Print, and I've chosen the printer right there to do it. If you want to check your settings before you're going to print, you're going to go into the Properties option up here. And once you get into there, you're going to see the interface for the HP, so you can see what you're going to be doing. So first of all, over here we have shortcuts or favorites, so we can save things as we go along. And on this side here, we have the most common settings that you're going to choose. So some of the different things that we can start with, for example, are you printing on both sides? Mine is set to no. So if I choose that, you can choose yes, flip over, just means it flips on the left side. If you choose flip up, like a calendar or something like that. So most of the time it's flip over. You can choose your paper source here. Remember that automatically select means it's going to look in tray 1 first, then 2, then 3, then 4. You can choose to pull from the manual feed tray. If you choose manual feed, that means it's going to have to automatically wait for you to enter to put paper. If you choose tray 1, it will pull only from tray 1 and won't roll to a different tray. So if you want to choose a tray, you can. Otherwise, it's going to select the paper automatically. The most common settings are here. This is the tab called the printing shortcuts. You can also go to the other tabs, the printer quality option, for example, here, and choose additional options. So for example, with the paper trays, not only can you have it pull from a specific tray, but you can have covers pull from an additional tray if you would like to. As you go into some of the other options, like some of the effects, here's where you can do some shrinking and enlarging if you need to. And there's also options on the side here to do watermarks. So you could come in here and say draft or edit and choose some of your own watermarks as needed. As we go into the finishing, if your machine does have the ability to do some of the stapling, we can do some of that stuff into here as well. And you can also two-side it there. The output method, here, actually on this machine, that's where the stapling is. We're going to staple on this one. You can staple output, and you can also choose a tray. There's a few of the machines that do have more than one output tray, so you can choose a different tray if you like. The job storage tab, this is where you can do some of the confidential printing. So currently by default it's off. If I choose a stored job, then it will go in and you can go up to the machine and retrieve it from there if you need to. There's also one called proof and hold. It'll print one and hold the rest, and so you can go and do the rest as you need. Put in the full quantity that you want before you choose that option. On the color tab, you can choose to print in grayscale. So do you want to print in black and white? And notice the pictures here, they are showing the grayscale option, or you can choose to print in color by unchecking the print in grayscale option that's there. If you go along and choose all these settings across all the different tabs and come back to the printing shortcuts option, there is an option here to choose save as. So if we do choose the save as tab, I could name this, and then that will be part of this list as you go on. Keep in mind, if you ever choose factory default and choose that option, then it's going to set everything here back to the factory default. So you always choose the option that you want to select that option there. Okay, so those are your most common options you're going to be choosing from printing. The last portion of this, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the administration of your machine. So what we did is I just opened a web browser and I typed the machine's IP address in your machine. And remember, from the machine, if you hit the I at the top, it will give you the IP address. So I've typed that in, and when it comes in and I enter it, you're going to only first see this information tab, and it gives you information about the machine. Is there paper in the tray? Is there toner in it? How is that? And you can do a few other little things. For example, you can do the usage page and choose some of those different options from here. Now, in order to see these other options here, you do need to log in as an administrator. The machines do not come standard with an administrator password. You can set them up and turn an administrator password on, but you will need one in order to do most of the settings that you need to do. So I've logged in as the administrator to get to some of the other options. So I'm going to start just with the general tab as we go into there. So some of the display settings. What is the home screen customization going to be like? If you choose the home screen customization, you can choose what you want to see on that front screen. You could move things around and change things if need to. You can also do a few other options on there, and the defaults are set in here as well. I'm going to go into the copy print tab, and so the copy print tab does have options. Also, this is where you set your defaults. So you can go into the different options and choose it. So if I choose the copy settings, for example, there is a little option here where you can say the default job options. And so if I go into those options, I can choose right here. Do you want it to default to color or black? What do you want it to be? So if I want to change that, I could say, let's change that to automatically select color and then apply that. And that is now just sent that to the machine that the default is now set to color for that. So you can choose those options in there. There is also an area here to modify your quick sets. So if you're going to be going into the quick set options, you can go in there and edit them or delete them and keep track of your quick sets from there. So this is all the copy and print quick sets. For the scanning, I know for most of the users, your IT or somebody like that is helping you out with that. They should have enabled scan to email if you're going to be able to do that. Otherwise, you may be doing some of the things like scan to the network folder. But keep in mind, this is where you may also want to change the default job options. So when you get into here, it's going to show some of the things. For example, to me, 200 DPI is a little bit low. I usually like to set mine at 300 DPI, so I change my PDF 300 dots per inch, and if you apply that, that is now just saved that at the machine for any of those default job options. Again, you do need to have the administrator password to be able to get into these features here as well. If you do have a fax option on your machine, this is where you would go through and configure it. First of all, you'd tell it that you have a fax. We didn't do that yet here. We would turn it on. You have to tell it what is the number of the machine so it knows what to print across the top, and the other default options there as well. You can also do fax speed dials in there. Oh, I forgot to mention that on the scanning. On the scanning, there's also where the speed dials are. So this is where you can go into your address book and you can enter in the addresses there as well. Just a few of the other tabs along here. Supplies, it's just going to show you what your settings are. It shows you where you're at with your cartridges. You can also set when reminders are going to be coming to you. There's a little bit of troubleshooting and a few other security and networking options, such as what's the IP or the IP address of the machine, and some of those other types of options that you'd probably be working with your IT department to work through those. If I do sign out, I'm going to sign out as the administrator just to show you. The only thing that I see is that information tab if I'm not signed in as an administrator.